Hashtag Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Key differences explained. Hashtag BlockVault Daily. Two names dominate every conversation about cryptocurrency. Two assets that between them represent trillions of dollars in market capitalization. Two technologies that have fundamentally reshaped how humanity thinks about money, ownership, and the internet itself. Bitcoin and Ethereum. Most people know both names. Far fewer understand what actually separates them, why those differences matter, and why choosing between them is not simply about picking a winner. Today, we are going to change that. Welcome to BlockVault Daily. Let us start at the beginning, because context matters enormously here. Bitcoin was born in 2009, created by the pseudonymous Satoshi Nakamoto in the direct aftermath of the global financial crisis. The timing was deliberate. The world had just watched major banks collapse, governments print money at unprecedented scale, and ordinary people bear the consequences of institutional failures they had no hand in creating. Nakamoto's white paper, published in October 2008, proposed something radical: a peer-to-peer electronic cash system that required no banks, no governments, and no trusted intermediaries whatsoever. Bitcoin was built with one singular, laser-focused purpose: to be a decentralized store of value and medium of exchange. Think of it as digital gold. That is not a metaphor people use loosely. It is the foundational design philosophy baked into every line of Bitcoin's code. Ethereum arrived 6 years later in 2015, conceived by a young programmer named Vitalik Buterin who had actually been a Bitcoin enthusiast first. Buterin recognized something powerful about Bitcoin's underlying blockchain technology and asked a question that would change everything: what if the blockchain could do more than just record financial transactions? What if it could run programs? His answer was Ethereum, a programmable blockchain platform that introduced the concept of smart contracts, self-executing agreements written directly into code, running automatically when predetermined conditions are met, with no need for lawyers, banks, or any middleman at all. From the very first moment, Ethereum was never trying to be Bitcoin. It was trying to be something else entirely. This foundational difference in purpose explains almost every technical distinction that follows, so keep it in your mind as we dig deeper. Let us talk about technology, starting with the consensus mechanism, the method each network uses to agree on which transactions are valid. Bitcoin uses proof of work, a system where miners compete to solve complex mathematical puzzles using specialized hardware. The winner adds the next block of transactions to the chain and receives newly minted Bitcoin as a reward. This process consumes enormous amounts of electricity, which is often criticized but also serves a critical security function. The energy expenditure makes attacking the Bitcoin network extraordinarily expensive. To rewrite Bitcoin's transaction history, a bad actor would need to control more than 50% of the entire global mining power simultaneously, an effort that would cost billions of dollars and still might fail. That is a remarkable security guarantee. Ethereum, by contrast, completed a historic transition in September 2022 known as the merge. The network shifted from proof of work to proof of stake, a system where validators lock up, or stake, their own Ethereum as collateral to earn the right to validate transactions. If they act dishonestly, they lose their staked funds, a penalty called slashing. The merge reduced Ethereum's energy consumption by approximately 99.9% overnight. It was one of the most complex software upgrades in blockchain history, executed on a live network holding hundreds of billions of dollars in value, and it worked. The environmental and efficiency implications were profound. Today, a single Ethereum transaction uses roughly the same energy as watching a few minutes of streaming video. Transaction speed and scalability represent another critical difference. Bitcoin processes roughly 7 transactions per second. New blocks are added to the chain approximately every 10 minutes by design. Ethereum processes somewhere between 15 and 30 transactions per second under normal conditions, with blocks appearing roughly every 12 seconds. Neither number sounds impressive compared to Visa's claimed capacity of 24,000 transactions per second. However, both networks are actively developing Layer 2 scaling solutions, systems built on top of the main chain that bundle thousands of transactions together before settling them on-chain. For Bitcoin, the Lightning Network allows nearly instant, nearly free micropayments by opening payment channels between users. For Ethereum, Layer 2 networks like Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base have exploded in adoption, processing millions of transactions daily at a fraction of mainnet costs. Supply is where the philosophical differences become starkest. Bitcoin has a hard cap of 21 million coins, not 21 million in one, not 21 million and a half. 21 million, forever. Approximately 19.7 million Bitcoin have already been mined. The remaining supply trickles out through a process called halving, where miner rewards are cut in half roughly every 4 years. The next halving occurred in April 2024, reducing the block reward to 3.125 Bitcoin. This predictable, shrinking supply is central to Bitcoin's value proposition as a hedge against inflation. You can mathematically prove that no one can create more Bitcoin than the protocol allows. Ethereum does not have a hard cap. Instead, the network implemented EIP 1559 in 2021, which burns a portion of transaction fees with every block, removing Ethereum from circulation permanently. During periods of high network activity, Ethereum actually becomes deflationary, more is burned than is newly issued. This dynamic supply model is more complex than Bitcoin's simple scarcity but serves the practical needs of a network where fees fund a massive ecosystem of developers and applications. Now let us talk about the most exciting part of this comparison, what each network is actually used for in the real world, because this is where the gap between Bitcoin and Ethereum becomes a canyon. Bitcoin's primary use case today is value storage and transfer. Institutions hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets as a treasury asset. Individuals use it to protect wealth against currency devaluation. Countries including El Salvador and the Central African Republic have adopted it as legal tender. Bitcoin ETFs, approved by the SEC in January 2024, opened the floodgates for traditional investment capital, bringing in tens of billions of dollars within the first few months alone. Bitcoin is increasingly treated like digital gold: you hold it, you secure it, and you trust that its scarcity will protect its purchasing power over time. Ethereum's real-world use cases span an entirely different universe. Decentralized finance, known as DeFi, is built almost entirely on Ethereum. Protocols like Uniswap, Aave, and Compound allow users to trade, lend, and borrow assets without any bank or broker involved, controlling billions of dollars in total value locked. Non-fungible tokens, NFTs, which represent unique digital ownership of art, music, gaming items, and real-world assets, live predominantly on Ethereum. The entire concept of decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, communities that govern themselves through token-based voting, runs largely on Ethereum smart contracts. Ethereum is the backbone of Web3, the broader movement to rebuild internet services on decentralized, user-owned infrastructure. This leads directly to the developer ecosystem question. Ethereum commands by far the largest developer community in all of blockchain. The number of monthly active developers building on Ethereum and its layer 2 networks consistently reaches into the tens of thousands. Programming in Ethereum's native language, Solidity, has become a lucrative and in-demand skill. Bitcoin's development community, while deeply talented, is intentionally smaller and more conservative. Changes to Bitcoin's core protocol require enormous consensus and move extremely slowly by design, because when you are managing a store of value used by millions of people, stability is a feature, not a bug. Risk profiles differ substantially too, and this matters enormously for anyone considering either asset. Bitcoin is the older, more battle-tested network with the simplest attack surface. Its code does comparatively little, which means there is less that can go wrong. Ethereum's complexity is its superpower and its vulnerability simultaneously. Smart contracts, while revolutionary, can contain bugs. Billions of dollars have been lost over the years through smart contract exploits, flash loan attacks, and protocol vulnerabilities. The more functionality a network supports, the more potential attack vectors it carries. Neither situation makes Ethereum a bad investment or technology, it simply means the risk landscape is different and requires different evaluation. Regulatory treatment is also diverging.